Lovely. So that should be recording now. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you, and we're going to be going through a PowerPoint presentation step by step. Katie and Ashley, I know you're obviously observing, but feel free to join in. I might direct some questions at you as well, so be ready. Yeah, and just join in with the activities as well. You're more than welcome. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. Lovely. So can I just confirm that everybody can see the purple page that says Anatomy and Physiology revision? Can we all see that? Just unmute yourself and just let me know yes or no.
Yeah.
Lovely. Remy, can you see that PowerPoint there? Oh, yeah, you've got it. I've got you in the chat. Brilliant. Katie, you can see? Brilliant. Lovely. So these are the topics that we're going to be going through today. As before we started the PowerPoint, I was just quickly talking to Remy. So this is all the information that we would usually go through at the beginning of the MVQ2 beauty therapy course. So the topics include the bones of the face, body, chest and shoulders. We've got the muscles of the face, muscles of the legs. We've got the skin, including the diagram of the skin and the layers of the skin. We're going to go through the body systems, which are the circulatory system, the lymph system. We're going to go through veins and arteries of the arms and legs. We're also going to be going through the nail growth and the diagram of the nails, and also the diagram of the hair growth as well, and the growth stages. Oh, you're taking pictures. Okay. Thanks, Katie. So let's start with the skeletal system. So a little bit of just fun little facts for you. Just to give this a nice little light-hearted start. The outer surface structure of our bones are known as compact. So this is the hard outer shell that you see on all skeleton pictures. We've got 22 bones altogether in the face. We're not going to be going through all 22 bones. We're going to be going through the majority of them. So about 15, 16 bones. You've got 14 bones that make up the face. You've got 8 bones that make up the head. The smallest bone in our whole body is actually in the inner of our ear, and it's about 3 millimeters long. So really, really tiny. The body in itself has a total of 206 bones, and the most common broken or fractured bone is actually your clavicle bone, and this is mainly from falls and trips. So our first activity is going to be the bones of the body. And we're going to go through the functions first. A really good acronym that I like to use to remember what the functions of the skeleton are is SAD-PAM. So we've got S. So our skeleton and our bones give us shape and support, and it helps to support the weight of our body. It helps us carry ourselves around. You've got A for attachment. Our bones help our muscles and tendons attach to each other. Our bones are our framework. So all of our muscles and tendons are attached to those. Our skeleton actually is the development of blood cells. So through our bones, we produce blood cells and platelets within our bone marrow. We've got protection. Our bones help to protect our vital organs. Our rib cages help to protect our heart and our lungs inside our body. It allows for movement, so for running and walking. If we didn't have our bones, we would probably be a puddle of water on the floor. It's also there for mineral storage. You always get told when you're younger to drink your milk, so you can have a good bone structure because you need calcium. Our bones also provide us with nutrients into our bodies as well. So if you just want to write that down, SAD PAM, this will help you with the functions of the bone. So I'll just give you about a minute or so just to write those down. Hi, Onella, thank you for joining us. So we've literally just started, so you haven't missed anything out. We're starting on the bones of the body. And what we are doing is we're just writing this acronym down. It's SAD PAM. And this is how we remember the functions of the skeletal system. So if you just want to write this down, SAD PAM, so the skeletal system gives us shape, attachment to muscles, development of the blood cells, it allows protection of vital organs and allows movement for the body. This lesson is being recorded, so just to remind you, we're going to be keeping our cameras off and microphones on mute. If you'd like to ask any questions, please put your questions into the chat and I will be trying to answer them as efficiently as I can. But yes, just keep your microphones on mute for me, but I will be posing questions to you as well. So when answering a question, just remember to unmute yourself. I'm just going to give you, Ornella, about a minute or so just to get those in. And hi, Kate, we've got another observer just joined us.
Morning.
And remember, guys, we are recording this lesson, so don't worry if you don't manage to get every single piece of information down on each slide. You will be able to access this and go through it in your own time as well. So now we're going to move on. So we've got here a lovely diagram of the bones of the face. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through from left to right. So starting with the eye socket and nasal cavities, and I want you to try and name each bone of the face. This is going to be about a 5-minute activity. Try not to look at your notes, just to get it from memory. Don't worry, we are going to go through all of this as well. but try and name as many as you can remember. I've given you a little hint there of the first letters of the bones, so see if you can fill them all in. So we're going to have 5 minutes on that, so it will take us to 10:27. So start off with this one here. Can you all see my mouse? Just pop it in the chat where I'm circling. So we're going to start with this one. It's the first one, and then Z, the bones that form the cheek. Second one. Brilliant. I'm glad you can see my mouse. Thank you, Katie. T. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You should have 8 bones there. Oh, was that me? Three minutes left on this activity. Can everyone just remember to keep your cameras off for me? Thank you. One minute left on this, guys. Right, so let's go through this one. Okay, so the first one I'm going to give you is ethmoid. So that is the eye socket and nasal cavities. That is the bone sort of right into the inner corners of your eye. Can anybody tell me, you can just unmute yourself if you want to, what the next bone is? Or hazard a guess at all?
Literally the only one I think I know is zygomatic.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. Well done, Ashley.
My memory didn't fail me.
It's working this morning. So yeah, zygomatic, correct. So this is the two bones that form the sides of the cheek. So your cheekbones, where our lovely smiles come from. What about the next one? All right, so I'll click through this. So the next one is our turbinate bone. So this is part of the nasal cavity. You've got quite a few bones in your nasal cavity, and that forms the inside of your nose. So we've got another bone here, which I believe is the bridge of the nose. Does anybody know what this bone is called? So this is the vomer. So this makes up the nasal septum. So we're talking about, oh, I think I've just given you the answer to the next one as well. So the nasal septum. So if you ever see somebody with a septum piercing, it's just the bone right here. What about the next one? So I'm going to click through this. The next one is your mandibles. So the bone, which is the lower part of your jaw. The bone above this also begins with an M. Remy, have you got any idea what that bone could be? Does anyone want to hazard a guess in the chat? Well done, Remy, for getting zygomatic as well. So the next bone is your upper lip bone, which is your maxilla. So both of the bones of your jaw and around your mouth both begin with the letter M. Next, we've got your lacrimal bone. This is part of your eye socket also. And last but not least, which I did say earlier, the bone which makes up the bridge of your nose. And I think somebody's already put that in the chat already. Can anybody either shout out or put in the chat again which bone that is? Yep, well done, Ashley. That is your nasal bone. So that makes up the bridge of your nose. Quite easy to remember as well, because nasal, nose, and your nasal passages, it all connects together. So well done, everybody, for that. I hope you've just filled those in as well whilst you're going, and just keeping track of what ones you may think you need to just go over and revisit again. So we've got the next one here, which is the bones of the head. So we're going to have 3 minutes on this activity. So that's going to take us to 36. Again, I've put the first letters of the bones of the head. You've only got about 5 of those, so it shouldn't take you too long to do this one here. So good luck, guys. You've got 1 more minute left on this one. Right, so let's kick start with the first bone. So this bone is 2 bones on either side of the skull, and it begins with the letter P. Does anybody want to just unmute themselves and tell me which bone this is? If you don't want to unmute, you can also put this in the chat as well. Sorry guys, my computer's just decided that it doesn't want to work. So I've clicked onto it twice. So the first bone is your parietal bone. So that is the bone on either side of your skull. And then we've next got your temporal bone. So on either side of your skull, just behind your eyes. So especially when we're doing things like facials, this is where that bone is located. What about the neck bone? The one at the base of the skull? All right, I'm going to click onto it. That is your occipital bone, so the bone at the bottom. Next, we've got just in front of the temporal bone, your sphenoid bone. So this helps to form the base of your skull as well, but more so at the front behind your eyes. And lastly, if you guys think about your muscles and your bones, these two names are very similar. Can anybody tell me what the bone at the front of your head, where your forehead is? You can pop in the chat or just unmute yourself.
Frontal?
Yes, correct. Was that Remy?
Yes.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, that is your frontal bone. So that forms your forehead. Well done. Right, so the next bones we're going to move on to are the bones of the chest and the shoulders. So the reason why we're looking at these bones is mainly because of our facial treatments. Because when we're doing things like cleansing, exfoliating, we do go onto the chestal area. This will also help you when having client consultations as well. When you're doing a consultation, if a client may have a contraindication to the treatment, because they may have injured themselves or they're having issues in the area, we as therapists know where and what they are talking about. So I'm going to go through this one. Don't worry, we're not going to be doing any more filling in the gaps at the moment. And I'm just going to talk through with you the functions of these bones as well. So I'm going to start here with the clavicle. So this is also known as your collarbone. If you feel on the top of your chest, you can feel it running along either side of the top of your chest. Next, you've got your sternoclavicle joint. So you'll always recognize that you've got the clavicle on your right and left side, and then your sternoclavicle joint, which is basically the joint in between your clavicle and your sternum. So this helps you to move your shoulder blades up and down. Underneath your sternoclavicle joint, you've got your sternum. This is also known as your breastbone. So this supports your rib cage right all the way down the middle of your rib cage, which is protecting all of your vital organs. I'm now going to go to the left. You've got your scapula, which is the back of the shoulder bone. It's sort of a little triangular shape at the back. You can usually feel it sticking out a little bit when you move your arm or elbow towards the back of your body. Then you've got your scapulothoracic joint. So your clavicle and your scapula both have joints to assist with movement. So this helps the clavicle to meet the sternum. I'm going to move on to the right-hand side. You've got your cervical vertebrae. These are the bones at the top of your spine. This is where your neck is supported. These are your neck bones. And lastly, you've got your thorax. If you can't see it, this is pointing to all of these bones here. So your thorax is the scientific name for your rib cage. And lastly, you've got your humerus bone. This is the bone at the top of your arm. And you can see here that your humerus is also connected to your thorax bones and your scapula. When you move your shoulder, when you move the top of your arms, you can feel all of those bones working together to give you movement. So if you can see on the left-hand side, we've got some red writing here. So we've got flat bones and irregular bones. So in this diagram, your flat bones are your scapula, which is that flat bone at the back, and also your sternum. Can anybody tell me, or hence a guess, of what a flat bone is and what its function is? Pop it in the chat or just unmute yourself. Okay, so your flat bones are mainly there for protection, and they usually cover a very wide surface area. So you can see your scapula there is quite large. It sort of takes up one quarter of the top of your back. What about an irregular bone? What do you think the definition of an irregular bone is? Why is it called an irregular bone? So your irregular bones are bones that don't fit into the categories of short, long, flat, or sesamoid. So these bones are sort of the other bones. They are not distinctive in shape or size. They can be many different forms, and they are non-uniform. So that's why you call it an irregular bone. So that is why your vertebrae is an irregular bone. It doesn't look like a conventional bone like your humerus or your thorax. So I've got a little challenge for you. We're now moving on to the bones of the lower leg and the feet. So I'm going to put up a list and I want you to tell me which of these bones is not a bone of the legs and the feet. So there's only one. So I'm going to give you about a minute to look through them, and then I'm going to ask if anybody can spot that bone. So the bones you've got are metacarpals, metatarsals, tibia, radius, fibula, tarsals, phalanges. I've just realized, guys, sorry, there's two that aren't bones of the legs and feet. Right, can anybody spot the two bones which are not those of the legs and feet? Unmute yourself or write it in the chat for me. So does that mean, do we all think that all of these bones belong in the lower legs and the feet? Is that correct? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Right, so I'm going to tell you that the two bones which aren't in the lower legs and the feet are your metacarpals and your radius. So here's a little extension question for you. Can anybody tell me where your radius and metacarpals are actually located? Can anyone hazard a guess? Remy, can you think of where your metacarpals and radius are located if they're not in the lower leg or the feet?
And your hands?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So the bones in your lower leg and in your lower arm and hands, they are very similar, and you can see it's sort of just a slight change in spelling there. So yeah, your metacarpals and your radius do not belong in your feet. You've got your radius, which is the long bones of your lower arm, and your metacarpals are the bones in your hands. So if the bones in your feet, you've got your tibia and your fibula. So these are your long bones. They help with support with movement and weight bearing. You've got your tarsals, which are the bones that make up your ankle. These are short bones. So the definition for short bones are that they are as wide as they are long, and they help with support and stability. So within your hands, you're going to have your carpals. So definitely very similar there. You're just changing the T to the C. So your toes and your feet have got tarsals. That's how I always remember it. They've both got the T in it there. So your toes are on your feet, your tarsals are on your feet. So that's how you can stop yourself from getting mixed up with them. Then you've got your metatarsals, which are the bones between your phalanges and your tarsals. So these bones are long bones. And actually a funny thing, I was just reading up a little bit, and I had originally been thinking about the bones and realized that these bones are actually long bones. A lot of people get these confused and think they're short bones, but if we look at the definition of what a short bone is, it's as long as it is thick. The metatarsals are not. They are longer in length than they are in width. And then lastly, you've got your phalanges, which are also long bones as well. The exact same with metatarsals. They are longer in length than they are in width. So we can distinctively tell just from the offset that the bones in the feet have the letter T's in it, which you can associate with toes. This will help you, especially when doing your exam, not to get too confused about where the bones of the feet are. Okay, so tibia, fibula, your tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. Oh, I'm glad, Katie, that the bones of the hands and the feet are your favourite. There's also a good little trick for remembering the bones of the lower leg. Your tibia is on the top. So it's always the bigger bone that is on the top at the front, and then your fibula is just the one behind it. So we have just touched on this. With your hands, it's pretty much exactly the same, just a little bit of different spellings. So we've got phalanges in our feet and in our hands. These are our toes and our fingers. Then you've got your metacarpals, which are the long bones in the middle of your hand. I always find this so fascinating. I'll put on my video to show you. If you have a look at your hand, if you put your palm out like this, between your thumb and your pointing finger, if you squeeze in between there, you realize that there's actually no bone in between your hand there. It's just tissue. So you could actually feel where your bones start. So your bones start down here and go up towards your fingers, and your pointing finger, that metatarsal bone goes up here. So you actually have no bone in this area here, which is, it's just, I love that fact that there's just nothing here, and you can feel each individual bone of your fingers. I think it's great. So when you're doing your bones of your hands, you can just start feeling your hands and thinking about where everything is. So down below here, you've got your carpals. So underneath your metacarpals are your carpals. That's your bones of your wrist. Then you've got your radius and ulna. So your ulna is your long bone, which connects from your thumb. So it's always going to be on the left-hand side. And then you've got your ulna, which is the smaller bone on the right-hand side, still a long bone. This bone is just a little bit thinner. So always remember, if you're looking at a diagram of the hands, the radius is always going to be where your thumb is, and your ulna is going to be where your little finger is. And again, a little tip, your ulna is underneath U and a U. You guys will come to realize that I have to have little tips on how to remember things. But it's great, especially when you're doing things like tests, because the diagrams, there are quite a few diagrams in the A and P test, as most of you all know. So the next part of our revision lesson is going to be the muscles. So we've looked at the bones, and now we're moving on to the muscles. So our muscles are attached to our bones. Our muscles help to create movement within the body and helps also with support. You have your involuntary muscles, which are controlled by an automatic nerve system. These are also known as smooth muscles. So you may see the word involuntary, but it does mean smooth muscles as well. And the reason why they call them smooth muscles is because when you see the diagram of the human body and it's just the muscles, these are the ones that look smooth in texture. So an example of a smooth muscle would be your stomach digestion. The muscles in your stomach move to push your food through your intestines, all the way down to your intestines to help process your food. You do not control these muscles. Okay, next you've got your voluntary muscles. So these are muscles which are mainly attached to tendons which you choose to move. These can be muscles in your arms, muscles in your legs, and these are known as striped muscles. Again, because on a diagram of the muscles, these look stripy. Next, you've got tendons. When you look at these in a diagram, they'll usually be a white looking muscle. These are usually quite inelastic, and they are fibrous collagen tissues attaching to muscle to bone. So you'll find a lot of tendons in your knees. You've got a very large tendon on the back of your calf, your Achilles tendon. I fortunately had a friend who ripped that. I don't know how, but it's quite difficult to do, but it's a muscle which does not move a lot. And next you've got your cardiac muscles. So the one muscle that we have, which is the cardiac muscle, is our heart. So that's continuously pumping blood around our bodies. We would also call this actually an involuntary muscle as well, because we don't tell our heart to pump blood all around our body. So now you can physically see all of these muscles of the lower leg, and you can see what I'm talking about when I say striped muscles. Most of the muscles are striped muscles in the bottom of the leg because they are voluntary muscles. You've got your tibius anterior, which is like your shin muscle. Footballers wear shin pads, so this is located at the front of your leg. So this helps for you to point your foot upwards and downwards. If you're sitting down, you can do these movements. I'm doing them. You can probably see me shaking around. Then you've got your peroneus longus. So this is the front to the side. This helps with flexing your foot backwards, and you can feel it bending and contracting if you put your foot upwards and downwards. Next, you've got your peroneus brevis. Again, upwards and downwards motions. You can see it's right next to the peroneus longus. So they pretty much do the exact same thing. Your extensor hallucis longus. This helps you to flex your big toe. So if you move your big toe up and down, this is the muscle that helps with that. It's a very small muscle. It's not a superficial muscle. Next, you've got your soleus. So this is located near your gastrocnemius, which is your calf muscle. And this one helps you with walking and running. Next, you have your gastrocnemius, which I've just said is your calf muscle. And this again helps you to point your feet downwards. If you point your feet downwards, you can feel that muscle at the back of your leg relaxing and contracting. And lastly, from what we've looked at with our bones of the lower leg, can anybody tell me where this red is right here, what this bone is? You can unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat.
Is that tibia?
Yeah, well done, Remy. That is your tibia bone. And the reason why I'm telling you this is just so you can see from the lateral view where that is. And you can also see, if you can see my mouse down here, that would be your fibia bone there, that little one there, but it's hiding behind all of those muscles. So you've got your tibia here going all the way to the top, and you can see your patella as well, your knee bone just up here. Just to be mindful as well, this muscle of the leg is definitely a diagram you need to memorize. Lovely. So now I've got another activity. You have got the muscles of the face. So all of the muscles of the face are here. Oh, I've just clicked my back button and given you the first one. So the first muscle is your depressor of the lower lip. So you can all write that down. That is number 1. So we can cross that one off. I've given you the first one. But there are 13 muscles of the face that I would really like you to focus on. There are more, but we're not going to go as extensive into that. But if you want to number on a piece of paper, numbers 1 to 13, and I want you to try and get all of these in the correct order. So we're going to have 7 minutes, 8 minutes on that, and that will take us to 10 past 11. If you do finish early, please just pop it in the chat and say that you're finished, and then we can move on if everybody finishes at the same time. So we're going to give you to about 10 past to get those all in the right order. If you can try and get as many as you can, that would be great. But if you can't, don't worry, we are going to go through this. You got 5 minutes left. How far have we got through? Let me know. So you've got 2 more minutes on this activity. So try and get as many of these numbers matched up with the names of the muscles. One minute left. Okay, so we're going to go through this now. So as you know before, I already gave you the first answer. If my computer wants to work, let's have a look here. There we go. So depressor of the lower lip, number 1, just down here on the side of the lip. Number 2, this one here, angled at the corner of the mouth. Can anybody tell me which muscle this is? You can write it in the chat or unmute yourself. So the next muscle is the risorius. Yes, Ornella, unmute yourself if you wanted just to ask a question. I can see that you've put your hand up. So the number 2 was risoria. So this muscle here. So you've put number 4. It was number 2. Yep, number 2. Well done. The next muscle, number 3, here located at the chin, is your mentalis. Number 3. Number 4, Ornella, is your corrugator. So this is the muscle in between your eyes, which kind of looks like corrugated iron when you scrunch your eyes together. That's how I like to remember it, corrugator, because it's like little lines. Number 5 is your buccinator. So located just underneath your risorius, your buccinator. Number 6, your orbicularis oris. 7, levator of the upper lip or levator labii superius. Number 7, so down the sides of the nose connected to the top of the mouth. Number 8, again, another muscle which is at the corners of the mouth, but more so located towards the top, coming at an angular direction, your zygomaticus. You've also got your zygomatic bone as well, underneath here. Number 9, platysma. So that is the muscle of your neck. Number 10, your masseter. So at the sides of your cheek, you've got your masseter muscle here. Number 11, orbicularis oculi. So you can see orbicularis oculi and orbicularis oris, 2 muscles which are round, which circle the mouth and the eye. Oculi, eye. 12, your frontalis, just like your zygomaticus, you've got your frontal bone and your frontalis muscle. And number 13, your temporalis, again, temple bone, temple muscle. How did we all feel about labeling the muscles of the face? Just unmute yourself, tell me 1 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being unsure, 10 being absolutely confident. Remy?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10. How confident did you feel about this activity?
It was okay, just I have few missed. But it's, yeah. I just mixed orbicularis oculi and oris. I think that oris was on the eyes, but...
Okay, so it's the other way around. So remember, oculi, eye, and then oris is going to be the mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. Ashley, how was your remembering with this one?
It was probably 50-50 on this one.
Okay, 50% is not bad. It's not too bad.
It's just remembering that every name.
Yeah, there are a lot of names, and they're
You know
also
what it does when you look at it and you're like, I know it, I can't get it out. So yeah, about 50-50.
It's just connecting 2 and 2 together, isn't it?
That's it. But when you start looking at them, I'm like, that's it.
Lovely. Well, I'm glad you guys, have have a good understanding of these. And I know you guys know it in your head, it's just actually putting two and two together. Definitely relating the muscles to the bones as well will help to get the majority of the muscles remembered, which is really good. What muscle do you think we have missed? Can anybody give me a quick guess? It's a muscle of the neck. We've missed one. So does anybody know which muscle that is? Katie, I'm going to call on you. Do you know which muscle we've missed?
Can I say?
Oh, yeah, Remy, go ahead. Remy, you've got the answer.
I think it's platysma.
So we've got platysma as number 9, but you are in the right area.
Gosh, platysma.
It begins with an S. No, I'll tell you. So
something thermo.
Yeah, keep going.
It was long word, but can't remember. I don't know. Sorry.
You do know. So you are right. It's sternocleidomastoid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you was on the right tracks. It is a muscle of the neck, but yes, sternocleidomastoid. So that's the muscle for the rotation of the head. So it helps you to flex and rotate your head. But you're all right. Well done, Remy. Lovely. So the best way we can sort of remember these muscles is to group them. So the muscles of the eyes, you've got your corrugator in between your eyes, your orbicularis oculi. Muscles of the head and neck, you've got your platysma, your frontal muscle, and your sternocleidomastoid. I've also got written there the functions of these muscles as well. Muscles of the side of your face, you've got your temporalis, that helps with your closing of the jaw, chewing and grinding. If you grind your teeth together, you can feel your temporalis contracting. You've got your masseter, is helpful for closing of the mouth and chewing. Then the muscles of the mouth, all of the other ones, this is quite a long list actually. Your risoris for smiling and frowning, your orbicularis oris, puckering your lips and blowing, your buccinator for chewing, your depressor labii inferius draws the lips downward. So depressor, depressing, sad, down. Mentalis, protruding your lower lips and wrinkles the chin. Levator labii superior, so superior is going to be higher, the muscles at the top of the lip. And your zygomaticus pulls mouth laterally and upwards, so at an angle and upwards. And remember, your zygomaticus bone is your cheekbone. So we can definitely help ourselves with revision by grouping these muscles of the face. So next we're going to go on to the muscles of the body. So we're talking about the chest, neck and shoulders, and I do have some muscles of the lower abdomen as well. We've looked at the bones of the chest, neck and shoulders. Now we're moving on to the muscles on the top. So you've got your sternocleidomastoid, which we've already talked about, which is going to help you with your movement. Next, you've got your deltoid muscle. So this muscle is going to help you with your movement of your shoulder going up and down. I was reading somewhere as well that your deltoid muscle is actually named after the Greek god Delta, because it's shaped like a D, which is quite interesting. Next, you've got your pectoris major. So this helps with adduction, which is your arm movement into your body. So if you move your arm across your body towards your chest, you can feel your pectoris muscles, or your pecs, if you're into gymming it, moving. Next, you've got your abdominals, which are your abs. These help with exhalation, breathing, inhalation as well, and they help to protect your inner organs. Then you've got your external obliques. These help to extend, tilt, and sorry, not extend and tilt. These help to move your trunk of your body. So if you twist your body from left to right, your external obliques are going to be contracting and moving when you're twisting. Your trapezius, this is your shoulder girdle. It helps to extend, tilt, and rotate your neck. It's a sort of downwards triangular shape across the middle of your back. And lastly, your triceps and your biceps. So your biceps are the muscles at the tops of your arms. If you were to do a bicep curl, you would feel your biceps contracting. And if you were to do a motion which is pulling downwards, if you were going to shut a shutter, your triceps would contract. So your biceps are at the top and your triceps are at the bottom. Again, with facials, we're definitely going to be working with all of these muscles as well. So when you're doing things like massage, especially the muscles, not so much the abs, but definitely deltoids, trapezius, we can definitely help our clients when we are doing facials. So now I'm just going to say we're just going to take a couple minutes, a 2-minute break, just get up, stretch, and then we're going to come back and start on the skin. So just take a 2-minute break, grab yourself a quick drink, and then we'll come back.
Hi, Angelique. Are you still there?
Yes, Kate.
Okay, I was just going to say thank you very much for letting me come in and observe and have a look at what you're doing this morning. So I'm going to drop out now. Is it okay if I give you some feedback next week? Would that be all right? I'll send you my report and then we can have a chat about it next week, do the verbal bit next week. I'll tell you what would be really interesting to hear when they got up, walked around and stretched, which muscles they've used to stretch. Yeah, that would be really interesting to see, because I was watching that thinking, God, yeah, I can really feel myself hunching over my laptop. I need to do some of that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so thanks very much. Enjoy
You're
the rest
welcome.
of your weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay. All right, thanks, Kate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hello.
It's me, Ornella. Can we do it next week too for the nails and feet, please? For the bones, please.
Ornella, we're going to be doing that as soon as we come back from break. So if you can just hang on.
Okay.
Do you have time?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like we can do it again in Saturday, because for the manicure and pedicure, like for the bones, because I'm not finding sure in that thing. That's why.
Yep. So we've already done the bones of the feet. So what we can
I know. Yeah, I was following you until you start.
Yeah.
But I have a little bit can't remember the names of the muscle and the bones in the feet and the hands. That is my problem. I was failing in the test too.
Yeah, so we are going to be going through that as well. Okay. And you will be able to access this as well online in your own time as well. So this is the lesson, but we will be accessing that as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm asking. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries.
Just, you can hear me properly?
Sorry, just repeat that for me, Ornella.
Can you hear me well? Because I have got trouble with hearing and.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right, so I hope everybody's back from break. I'm just going over just a little bit of my notes and the PowerPoint. So I just wanted to let you know we are going to be running over our 11:30 ideal finish time. As you all know, this is a quite a lengthy bit of material, and I have just made a little bit of a miscalculation on how long it's going to take. I do appreciate and understand the time frames. But if you're happy to stay with me, please stay with me and join in the activities. However, this will still be recorded. So if you do have any other commitments, that's understandable, but you will be able to access this information at a later date to go through it again at your own pace. And you can keep going through it as well until you're able to feel confident enough to know all the information. All right. So we're going to move on now.
Ange,
yeah,
just before you go, I'm gonna head off. I've got another Zoom at 11:30. So we'll pop it on YouTube for you. But I've got
that's fine.
Teachers Assessors one at the moment. So I will see you all soon.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye. Lovely. So next we are going on to the skin. So this is quite a big diagram, and as you all know, especially when it comes to your assessment, this diagram is the diagram that you need to remember, retain, where everything is labeled as well, which can, you know, feel quite tricky and also feel quite lengthy as well. There are a lot of parts which you need to remember. So I do appreciate that this is quite a big section. So the diagram of the skin. So remember, the skin is a waterproof surface. It protects the rest of our body. It's the biggest organ in our body as well. It contains so many things, melanin for protection against the sun, and it gives us color. And it also takes in sunlight, helps to manufacture vitamin D as well. It helps with our bone formation. The skin has so many different components which are integrated into itself. And as we know from our learning, we've got 3 layers of the skin. You've got the epidermis, which is the top most outer layer, the outer layer that you see. You've got your dermis, which is where everything is contained that we're going to be looking at, and also your subcutaneous layer, which is also maybe called your hypodermis as well. So we're just going to go through all of these labels. Like I said, when you have access to this, you'll be able to come back, but you need to know for MVQ level 2 testing where everything is. So we'll start with the epidermis. So this is where our sensitive touch receptors are, and it gives the brain information of the environment that our body is in. As you can see here, you've got your nerve endings which follow up into the epidermis. I'm going to start here on the left-hand side. We've got your sebaceous gland. Can anybody tell me what the function of your sebaceous gland is? Does anyone know? What does it produce? So our sebaceous gland is going to produce oil. So the oil travels up through the hair follicle and up to the hair shaft. So this is where our oil is produced. Next, we've got our erector pili muscle. So this is the only muscle in this diagram. So this muscle helps to attach our hair to our body. And remember, you can see the bulb of the hair here, the root, and attached to it is the erector pili muscle. Next, we've got our hair follicle. So this is something that I do find a lot of people get confused with. You've got your hair follicle, which is within the dermis, and your hair shaft is the part of the hair that is sticking outwards, okay? Next, you've got the hair roots, the base of the hair. So this does look like a little bit of, you know how you plant a flower? So this is the root, this is the bottom part of the hair. Next, we've got our endocrine sweat gland. So here we go. This one here. Sorry, I was following the wrong line. This one here, you've also got it. Apocrine sweat gland is this one here. So you have 2. One which is connected to the hair follicle, and then one which just produces water on its own. Next, you've got your sensory nerves. So these are the nerves that are going to tell your body it's cold outside, it's hot outside. These are the yellow bits that are running through the dermis up towards the epidermis. This was not labeled on this diagram, so I had to put my own little one in. We've got another nerve ending. This is actually in the hypodermis, in the subcutaneous layer at the bottom, but this is a sensory nerve ending. So this one detects vibrations and pressure. Within your subcutaneous layer, you've got adipose tissue. This is fatty tissue. Within your subcutaneous layer, you have your blood vessels here. Blue and white. Blue and red, sorry. And I think that is all of the labels that we have gone through. But remember, you need to make sure you're understanding where everything is located. How does everybody feel on where the labelings are with the diagram of the skin? We feeling confident, not so confident, need to revise a little bit more on this? It's definitely a large part of the assessment as well, because there are a lot of labels, so you can get a lot of marks from knowing exactly where these parts are. Next, we've got the layers of the epidermis. So the outermost layer then has layers within itself. So we get taught the scientific name, but then there is another name which is a bit more easier to remember. So you've got stratum corneum, which is the horny layer, stratum lucidum, which is the clear layer, stratum granulosum, which is the granular layer, stratum spinosum, which is the spiny layer, and stratum basal, which is the base layer. And basal is exactly the same, which is great. So these layers of the skin, we're going to go through them from the bottom all the way to the top, just so we can have a better understanding of what they are. So we've got the basal layer. So this is the deepest layer of the epidermis. This is the base layer. This is where all of the live cells are contained, nutrition, and this is where the cells divide. And this division of cells is called mitosis. So these are the live cells. Your basal layer is at the base. So always remember, this is the bottom layer. So when we're talking about the skin and when we're talking about desquamation and our skin renewing itself, your skin cells always push upwards. So the flow of renewing your skin is from the bottom to the top. So from our basal layer, we go up towards our spinosum, our spiny layer. And the reason it's called a spiny layer is because when the cells are being pushed to the surface, they grow spines. And this is where the melanin is actually produced. So you're getting your defense for UV rays and color. Through your spinosum layer, when your cells get pushed up a little bit more, you're going to go to your granulosum layer, your grainy granular layer. And this is where keratin production is formed. When the keratin production is formed, the cells start to become harder. And this is where the cells actually start to die. So the skin on the top of our bodies is not actually live. It's the cells at the bottom of the epidermis which are live. Once the cells have come from the granulosum layer, they're going to go up into the lucidium layer. They're changing. And the reason for this is because the walls of the cells break down. There is no nuclei in the cells, which is the heart of the cells. And therefore, the cells become clear. That is why it's called the clear layer. And once the cells are pushed up through the clear layer, they will get to the stratum corneum. The cells are now hard from the protein, they're flat and they're dry. This means that they are going to start flaking from the natural rubbing of our skin when our skin sheds naturally anyway. This is called desquamation, and the removal of this when you're using things for your body like exfoliants, gels, scrubs, you're aiding desquamation, you're aiding the removal of the dead skin cells. And the horny layer, I like to remember this is horny is in relation to touch. So this is the uppermost layer of the skin. So that is I feel like this is giving you a better understanding of the different layers of the epidermis. So when you're looking at the skin, remember the epidermis is the outer layer. Within this layer, you have 5 layers. So you've got the epidermis, then the dermis, then the subdermis or hypodermis. So now we're just going to watch a quick video about the circulatory system, and this is what we're going to be moving on to. I'm going to share my sound with you, and I'm going to just mute my microphone, and hopefully you guys can hear it.
The circulatory system works to transport oxygen and nutrients to cells in your body, while removing waste products such as carbon dioxide at the same time. Hemoglobin, which is the protein present in red blood cells, serves as the main transporter, much like a school bus, with oxygen and carbon dioxide being able to hop on or hop off at the correct destinations. This system is actually a double circulatory system, made of two circuits, the pulmonary circuit and the systemic circuit. In the pulmonary circuit, deoxygenated blood is pumped from your heart to your lungs to become oxygenated. In the systemic circuit, this oxygenated blood that is returned to the heart is pumped to the rest of your body. Unlike other muscles in your body, your heart never tires and works very hard to ensure that blood reaches all parts from your head to your toes. Blood is pumped away through the aorta and then through the arteries. Arteries have very thick muscular walls, so to withstand the pressure of very fast-flowing blood. These arteries branch into smaller arterioles, which then branch into smaller capillaries that surround all cells. The movement of blood slows down significantly at the capillaries for two reasons. The capillaries are much smaller, and slower movement allows for gas exchange. Here, oxygen is offloaded onto cells, so blood becomes deoxygenated and carbon dioxide and other waste products are picked up. Deoxygenated blood then travels away from the capillaries into the venules and then into the veins. Unlike arteries, veins have much thinner walls and valves that prevent deoxygenated blood from flowing backwards. This deoxygenated blood doesn't travel straight to the lungs to become oxygenated. It must first travel to the heart so it can be pumped into the lungs, ready for another round.
If you like the video, thumbs up.
Right, so this was just a really quick video just to give a better explanation of the circulatory system rather than you guys listening to my voice droning on and on.
Don't forget to subscribe, comment.
So what can we tell, what have we learned from this video? So the function of the blood is for transportation, protection, clotting, and also for heat regulation. You've got two circuits within your blood. So this is the pulmonary circuit and the systemic circuit. Thank you, Ashley. Have a good day. So you've got two circuits, pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. So the pulmonary circuit is where the deoxygenated blood is pumped from the heart to the lungs. And then the systemic circuit is the oxygenated blood pumped from the lungs to the rest of the body. You've got arteries, which are main muscular walls which carry blood away from the heart. So this is under high pressure, so very fast flowing. Then you've got deoxygenated blood traveling away from the capillaries into the veins. So once all of the blood has been distributed into the body, it's then carried by the capillaries into the veins back to the heart to get oxygenated again. Key things to know is blood is made up of plasma, erythrocytes, leukocytes, and thrombocytes. So plasma is about 90% water. It contains salt and nutrients. Erythrocytes are red blood cells. Leukocytes and thrombocytes are blood proteins. You also have your pulmonary veins, which carry oxygenated blood back to the heart from the lungs. So your arteries will always carry oxygenated blood, and your pulmonary veins will also carry oxygenated blood. So when we're looking at the veins of the lower arm, so Ornella, this will definitely be relevant to your manicure and pedicure. So remember me talking about the bones of the hand. So when we're looking at this hand, you can see that the thumb is now on the left-hand side. So if we're looking at our thumb, you can see that you've got your radial vein next to your thumb, which is where your radius would be as well. So this is the vein that runs along that bone. You've also got your median vein. So all of these veins are superficial veins. These are veins that you could probably at some points actually see. You've got your ulnar vein. This is running alongside your ulnar bone, your long bone in your forearm. And then you've got your median basilic vein. So this vein, you probably, if you ever have, this is where a lot of the times you get blood taken from. Alongside all of these veins, you will have arteries as well. This diagram is definitely relevant to NVQ2 assessment and also the labeling. So take note of that. The arteries in the arm are fewer. You will have your brachial artery and axillary and subclavicle arteries as well. These are the main arteries that come from the heart here, if you can see me circling that as well, and your brachial artery as well, which is near your biceps and your triceps. And then you also have, alongside your radial vein and ulnar vein, you also have your ulnar artery and your radial artery. So this is high pressure blood flowing through here. But I want you to more so focus on this diagram on the left of all the veins in your lower arm. Right, next we're going to move on to the veins and arteries of the lower leg. So if you heard in the video, it talks about your aorta, which is a very large pulmonary artery. So this actually runs down the middle of your body and it splits into two. So on each side, you will have both of these veins and arteries, but just to be a bit more clearer, you've just got one on each side, but you would have both on each side of your leg. So your femoral artery splits from the aorta, your main artery, and this runs down your femur. Your femur is your long bone at the top of your leg. Then this is going to split to your popliteal artery. So popliteal artery is the arteries around your knee, P link letter, popliteal, and patella. Patella is the bone around your knee. The blood then runs down into your anterior tibial artery and posterior tibial artery. So anterior is going to run down the front and posterior is going to run down the back. You've also got your dorsalis pedis artery, which is the arteries around your ankle, and these all connect to your plantar arch. So on both feet, you have arch veins. You've got your dorsal venous arch here and your plantar arch. So you can always tell you have an arch in your foot. You can relate this to the plantar arch in the diagram. So the veins in the foot are your dorsal venous arch. These travel inside the foot and the ankle. They go back up the leg into the thigh here, and they travel up into your great saphenous vein, passing through again anterior and posterior veins, front and back veins of the lower leg. Your veins that are running up your thigh are your small venous vein and your great venous vein. So the smaller veins will always be located at the bottom of your leg and then run up to the top of your leg into larger veins. Again, just like your arteries, you have your femoral vein and then your external iliac vein. And this vein is a vein within your hips here. So alongside your circulatory system, you also have your lymph system. So your lymph system is made up of plasma, lymphocytes, waste products, and proteins. You can see that the composition is actually very similar to blood, but what it doesn't have is the red blood cells. So all of these structures come together for lymphatic drainage. So lymphatic drainage is when fluid within the body is taken away, cleaned, and then put back into the bloodstream. And this is through many channels like nodes, lymph ducts. Here we've got a lymph duct as well, and capillaries and smaller vessels called capillaries. You've also got your spleen. Your spleen is like a large lymph node. This helps to actually filter blood and holds a reserve of blood just in case you have an attack on the body or you need to fight a hemorrhage shock as well. So this is quite a good piece of your body to represent what lymphatic drainage is. So it's lymphatic drainage is always going to be removing waste from your body. It's going to help you fight against infection as well. It's giving your body an overall better function because it's getting rid of all of the waste material. And you can see here, very important, it's improving your internal environment as well. You've got a lot of lymph nodes in your armpit, and we definitely know that we sweat from our armpit. We expel sweat from our armpits. You've got your inguinal lymph nodes in your waist as well, and some in your arms, and you've got cervical lymph nodes in the back of your throat as well, and your tonsils. So now we're going to move on to the nail. So here we have a diagram of the nail. Ornella, this is definitely going to be your manicure and pedicure now. So I hope you're just taking some notes on this. So the diagram of the nail. So these are the diagrams which are going to be represented in NVQ2 assessment. We've got your front facing and also side facing as well. So we've got your free edge. So this is going to protect your fingernails from harm. Your hyponychium, which helps to prevent bacteria from going underneath your nail. Your nail plate, so this protects your nail bed and sensory nerves. So all that's very sensitive, soft tissue underneath this nail plate is what's protecting it. You've got your nail walls, so this forms the frame of the nail for protection as well. You've next got your lanula. So this is the white on the top of your nails, the white effect above your matrix. Next, you've got your cuticle. This stops bacteria from entering into your nail fold, which is here, your proximal nail fold. You have also got your matrix. So this is where all the DNA of your nail is made up of. You've got your mantle. These are just the small rigid grooves on your skin below the nail. Your nail bed, it provides foods and oxygen to the matrix and stops your nail from lifting off. It also has a nerve supply underneath, and it also helps with pain and pressure. You've got your nail groove here. So this is when your nail hits a corner. This is the groove of your nail. Your lateral nail fold on this diagram on the right, it guides your nail to grow straight. Distal groove is the exact same as nail groove. You've got matrix here and bone here. Like I've said, I think, Remy, you're the only one left, but we will carry on. This is the diagrams, which would be in assessment. Are there any questions that you had about this, Remy?
No, I don't have any.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
learning, isn't it, where everything is. Lovely. So we're just going to move on now.
Okay.
So knowing more and remembering more. So this is just to sort of pull some information out. We'll go through this together. So nails are made up of many layers of dead protein cells, which are similar to hair and skin cells. So this is something that is also in the layers of our skin. So when we're thinking about protein, what word comes to mind?
Keratin or...
Yeah, brilliant. Yep, so keratin. Yeah. So keratin protein cells are similar, is what makes up like our hair. They help to form tissue, nails, and also the skin as well. So our nails aren't really living as such. They are classed as dead cells. Okay, and from what we've just gone over, what part of the nail protects the sensitive skin underneath?
It's so underneath the nail, not nail plate. Nail bed? Nail, yeah, I think so.
So the nail bed is underneath, but you were correct. The nail plate is actually what protects the nail bed. So you were correct.
Okay.
Right. Question 3. After losing a fingernail, how long does it take for it to completely grow back? How long do you think it takes? If you lost a whole fingernail, how long would it take for it to grow back?
Up to 5-6 months.
Yep, correct. Up to 6 months it takes for your nail to grow back. And what time of year do you think nails grow the fastest? What season?
On summer.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, definitely. A lot of vitamin D. Our body loves that, especially for growth. So this is a word that we've been using quite a lot. The condition and blank rate of the nails can be indicative of a health condition. Nail growth may also be slowed by poor circulation. So the answer is actually in that sentence. One of the words in question 5 is the answer.
The condition and rate the nails can be indicated on health condition. The nail growth. I think it's growth. Nail growth may also
Brilliant. Correct. So the condition and growth rate of the nails can be indicative of a health condition. Nail growth may also be slowed by poor circulation. So definitely you can tell a lot of someone's health by the way that their nails look. A lot of conditions come out in the way that their nails look, in terms of ridges and in terms of things like discoloration.
Yeah.
Number 6, the material that makes up the nail plate and determines characteristics of the nail is formed in the what? Located underneath the cuticle. The most common cause is injury to the base of the nail. The what? Where the nail is formed. So these are the same word. So we're talking about a part of the nail.
The material that makes up the... Under the cuticle. So cuticle. So what we have? Matrix, mantle, no. Lanula, no.
So this is something that has the instructions to make the nail.
Matrix?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under the cuticle. Must come and cause injury to the base of the
So
nail.
if we go back, you can
Yeah.
see that's our cuticle here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then our matrix is located underneath.
Underneath, yeah. Okay.
And lastly, do you know what the condition lyconicea is?
No.
So this condition is the condition where you get a discoloration of the nail. It's usually like a white line.
Okay.
And this is a very common injury of the base of the nail. So you usually, if you pinch or hit your nail, the effect that the damage to the matrix gives off is called lyconicea. So this is the white appearance of damage to the nail.
Okay, so this coloration is white. Okay.
Usually white, like small little lines.
Yeah. So that's happened because.
So if you pinch your nail, if you hit your nail,
right.
If you've ever trapped your nail in something, I have. It's horrible. It's not very nice, is it?
Yeah. Okay. Good. So.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to our last section, which is hair growth. So we've all seen this lovely diagram before. So we've got the cuticle, which is the outer layer of the hair. Oh, let me go back. So this layer protects everything underneath. It's the outermost layer. And this is where tint and dye, if we're talking about hairs on our head or hairs on our eyelashes, this is where it would take up. Next, you've got the cortex, which is the second innermost layer. So this gives your hair strength and elasticity. It's where pigment is also found as well. So what determines if we have blonde hair, if we have brown hair, if we have black hair. And then lastly, we've got the innermost center of the medulla. It's a very thin, almost clear layer of the hair. Some people, it's not actually present, and scientists have actually found that they're not too sure what the actual function is. It is a part of the hair, but it does not actually have a specific function. Always remember CCM, cuticle, cortex, medulla. So from the outside to the inside. And this is a diagram you would need to know. Lovely. And we'll go through this one together. So we've got all of these words here. So anagen, can you remember in the stages of hair growth what anagen is, Remy? This one here, the pink one.
That is the active growing on the hair.
Brilliant, amazing. Yep, the first stages of hair growth, actively growing. So it's still attached to the root, it's alive, and it's traveling up the hair follicle out and growing. What's terminal hair?
Terminal hair. Is that terminal? Is that on the hair? It's on the
Sure.
scalp, on the face, the hair.
Yep, you're on the right line. So terminal hair is long, it's thick hair, it's pigmented hair, so it's usually quite dark. Definitely the hair on your head, on your scalp, on your face, your eyelashes, your eyebrows, underneath your armpits, and also in the pubic area as well. And the growth of this hair is determined also by hormones. Hormones tell your body, especially in men, you're going to grow terminal hair on your face. Which is a beard, but in women, your hormones will not tell your body to grow hair on your face, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
What about telogen? What stage of hair growth is telogen?
Is the last, I think, was last one.
So this is connected to terminal hair, definitely. And this is the resting stage. So terminal hair usually stays in telogen for quite a while and then eventually falls out. So that's why your hair on your head, eyebrows, etc. are there for a longer period of time. I'll do this one. Vellus hair. So vellus hair is very soft, fine, light colored, translucent, and non-pigmented, so non-colored hair, usually found on most areas of the body, but very light. You can't really see it. And you get it from, especially in children as well. And lastly, catagen. What stage of growth is catagen?
Catagen.
So if anagen is active, catagen is, it's a word, there's a word beginning with C. So it's changing.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
might be.
So this is the end of the active hair growth. So this is when the hair is broken off and it's in the changing phase where it's going towards telogen. So it's detached from the blood supply, it's detached from the root, it's no longer growing.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so this is actually the last topic on our A&P revision lesson. Thank you so much for joining. I know we've had some people leave, which is absolutely fine. I understand it's a very big part of theory.
That's the most.
Yeah, it is the most, isn't it? And it's the biggest
yeah.
test as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just share just some things to remember. Diagrams are always where the most smart. So you probably heard me say this a million times anyway. When you get to doing your test, we're always going to double check and triple check your answers just to make sure that we've filled out everyone we possibly can. The pass rates for the tests is 70%.
Yeah.
And always to take your time when you get to doing it as well.
So we don't have any timing. We had before, I think.
Yeah, so the timing
minutes.
is an hour and a half.
Okay.
But don't feel like you have to get it done, in an hour or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's definitely has changed now. As I said before, Remy, from when you were doing yours.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen now because that's the end.